sound. I think I know where we're staying. It's fine. So
It's 6 o'clock. Shall we get started?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Welcome everybody here to our March board meeting. First item is to amend and or accept tonight's agenda. We do have one amendment. It'll be action item H, to approve or disapprove cameras for our, from Holland Bus Company, for our buses that are on the way.
I'll explain in my report.
Motion.
Support.
Motion support, any discussion or additions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? At this time, we have time for public comment. Seeing none, I don't think we'll have any of that tonight. On to our routine matters. We need to approve our February minutes and also our February closed session minutes. And we have copies of those. Do we have a motion for the minutes?
So moved.
Support.
Motion support for the regular meeting minutes and the closed session minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Did you consider our general fund invoices for payment, Matt?
I would like to make a motion to pay from the general fund checks 78763 through 78903 for $144,956.45. And from food services, checks 78770 through 78885 for $57,161.78.
Supported.
All right, we have motion support for our invoices. Is there any question on any of those? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to reports and communications. Myself, not a lot to report on, just would like to congratulate our winter athletes on a good season for most everybody. Our wrestling team, our basketball teams, obviously our boys basketball didn't end the way we wanted to, or the girls, I'm assuming. But our wrestling team, sounds like they had a good season too. A couple of them actually made it to the state level, which was good to see. So that's all I got. Superintendent.
Yeah, not much of an update. I'd like to congratulate Sean Mulder for being our Athletic Director of the Year for Region 3 from the Michigan Independent Athletic Admin Association, which is quite an honor. He received that honor this weekend. So I'm very happy for Sean, very proud of him and the work that he puts in. He also did a nice job. We held District 4 regionals for girls basketball here. And that was it was a pretty cool experience to hold a regional, and hoping that we can hold more here in the future. We think that looking at our bleachers and setup and seeing what our boys played in at Boyne City, even for our quarterfinals game, I think we can host those.
Wow.
So, yeah, so it was good. I'd like to congratulate Ken Stahl he received his Level 3 Award of Distinction from the Michigan Association of School Boards. So congratulations, Ken, on that. Well done. Couple other things. We have our foundation auction is scheduled for April 19th. That's the Saturday before Easter. We're collecting a lot of donations now. So if you have anything you'd like to donate, please, you can drop it off to me. Make sure it gets in the right hands. Or Carolyn. Be able to do that. It's a good night. All the money that's raised goes to our kids, to our students. So that's on Saturday, April 19th. The doors open at 5:30, and then we'll have the live auction at 6 o'clock for that. I received, Kevin added an agenda item. I received this quote from Scott Dunham late today. Gosh, it was after school was released. This is a quote for our cameras, for our buses. It'll be for our new buses. And then another additional bus, this is cameras for 4 buses. The Angel Track system, which is on our other buses as well. I am fine if you guys would like to table this. I know it came in late. We do not have this in the budget amendment as it came in later than we anticipated. However, I don't want our bus drivers driving buses without cameras. Without these camera systems, we do need these. I was told, Scott told me that if we do wait till the April board meeting, which is fine, it could cost the district more money based on the new tariffs that could come into play in April. To be honest with you, I wouldn't ask the board for permission on this, except it's over $10,000, which board policy says that we have to do that. And then I have another note here, but I can't read my writing. So that may come into play later. Just be brutally honest with myself and with everyone. Mrs. Gunderman, my 4th grade teacher, would not be very pleased with me, but penmanship right now. So, any questions for me?
I just made a couple notes here, Scott. Last time we kind of talked about a few issues regarding roll call votes and closed session, that kind of stuff. The only thing I would make a note of is I think it'd be good practice going forward that we do come out of closed session with a motion, and that is allowable. So I just...
Do we do that in closed session or in open session?
In closed session.
Okay.
And that is allowable, even though it's in closed session. That's the one allowance that can be tolerated.
Yeah, and in the notes I put on there, it says the Open Meetings Act is silent as how to leave a closed session.
Yeah.
A motion may be made to end the closed session with a majority vote needed for approval. So.
And it's allowed because it's not a decision that effectuates or formulates public policy. So
yeah,
it doesn't make sense that you're here one day and then you're next day. I mean, the board has to do some action somewhere, you know. So I would recommend that we, going forward, record a motion to leave closed session in the closed session minutes.
We can do that. Yep. Definitely a gray area.
And definitely.
All right. Okay. Moving on to our business managers, Taylor and Liz.
Okay, so the biggest thing we have tonight is a budget amendment. In our notes, you saw kind of a list of some of the bigger changes, but then I will just give you a snippet again of some of those really the larger adjustments. So looking at the general fund, some of the revenue adjustments contained additional revenue and expenditures added for the 147G 3% mixers healthcare refund. There were other additional revenues added for increases in mixers funding. There was less preschool and ramper time revenue. We have donations and expenditures added for the playground equipment and batting cages, and an increase in the 51C special education funding. So we're seeing an overall increase to revenue from the December amendment of $353,971. Looking at the expenditure adjustments, looking at the operations, we have the 147G revenue and expenditures, the playground equipment, which was offset by donation, a floor scrubber, painting of the gyms. And then in athletics, again, the 147G, revenue and expenditures, there were also increases to supplies, uniforms, and equipment, which included the batting cages, which offset by donation. And then in the site and building improvement, we have the general fund portion of the track overage. So an overall increase to expenditures from the December amendment of $374,773. Then overall, we have the December estimated fund balance of $3,152,555. We are seeing a decrease to fund balance from that amendment of $20,802, which is the estimated fund balance at June 30, 2025 of $3,131,753, which is 20.21%, which is still pretty good. And then looking at food service, the biggest revenue adjustment there was an increase in the federal reimbursement meals increase in the reimbursement meals and commodities. So our total budgeted revenues for that are $1,033,231. And then the expenditure adjustments, we have food and supplies, which is an increase due to summer food costs, and then increases in the equipment costs because we added additional for the required spend on plan. So our total budgeted expenditures are $1,013,150. And then our actual fund balance at June 30, 2024 was $405,481. The estimated addition to fund balance is $20,081, leaving the estimated fund balance at June 30, 2025 to be $425,562, which is about 42%.
Yes, do you have any questions? We did have that, the 147G expenditures also are in like the basic instruction and, well, most of them are in basic instruction a little bit, like in the admin line. Just whoever had got the reimbursement is where we had to put the expenditures without hitting grants, without hitting special ed, those kind of things. So, yeah, you guys have any?
So I understood that the items that we're going to approve tonight as far as the painting and electrical, those have been reflected in this budget amendment.
The electrical has not.
Has not.
Electric has not, okay.
Yes.
But you will see the recommendation that I had in the gyms is lower than what we budgeted
Okay.
for.
But the painting bits have been included?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
All right, that's all good stuff. Any more questions?
Make a motion that we'll probably act on that later, won't we? Okay.
I appreciate that though, Ken.
I did have one other question, maybe it's, I don't know who it's for, but regarding the preschool, a little bit of concern there about the financial side of that. Maybe not turning out like we had hoped for maybe, or,
Yeah.
I'm just interested in perspective on that.
You want me to talk a little bit about that? I mean, part of it, I guess you have to look at, if you're gonna, look at that program as a whole, as far as, the preschool and the Rambler time. And if you look at that as a whole, it is, it's basically close to sustaining itself, If you take that Rambler time revenue out of there, of course, then that makes that loss look higher. But as a complete program, I don't know if it was ever the intent of, the board or when that was all originally set up, that those wouldn't be separated out. And is it okay with the board that Rambler time is kind of help funding the preschool program? And one thing to keep in mind, and Scott and I have talked about this before, is you are funneling kids into your school, which is funneling them into a per pupil foundation. And so that's something, to keep in mind as well. I know Jenny is looking, I think, at staffing, I think to make sure that we try to keep that as right size as we, as we can. And, Scott was looking at
So,
what we're gonna charge next year, so.
yeah. So is it, the preschool, is it enrollment flattening
Yeah.
or decreasing or?
Or will it?
Yeah, so, yeah, our tuition-based enrollment has declined
Yes.
from last year. If you look at birth rates were low.
Yeah.
Preschool enrollment across this region is down from previous years. It is something that we're looking at. Jenny and I had a meeting today with somebody from the My Try program, looking at some different funding streams for our preschool. My opinion on this is 1 year where we've really looked at the different revenues, right? That we keep going, because I do think that it's probably going to be closer to balance by the time we get finished with
Yeah.
it for this year. And the board's goal was to always just to break even.
Right.
And we don't need to be profiting $10,000 in Rambler time and losing $10,000 in preschool time, where those can feed each other. The other thing too, you have to be mindful of with preschool is the ratios. If you have, I don't know the ratios, so don't quote me on this off the top of my head, but once you reach a certain number, you have to have 2 people in there, right?
Yep.
And then you have to have 3 people. So we're just at a point where we're kind of lower right now, but if we combine the 2 classrooms, then it would be a different, you would have to potentially hire. So we're looking at all avenues with it. Here's the thing with GSRP too. I mean, GSRP, 2 of our classrooms are the Great Start to Readiness program, and we have an excessive, shouldn't say excessive, we have a larger fund balance in those 2 classrooms that we can't spend on the other classrooms
Right.
because of its grant funding. So we're just trying to massage ways of revenue streams and how we can make it benefit for both.
So if the GSRP, is that reflected in the numbers we see for the preschool? Or that's entirely separate?
This is just the tuition-based 2 classrooms and the
Okay.
regular time.
So the GSRP, that just because part of our general revenue or general,
Right, and your revenue and your expenditures will always offset.
okay.
Yep. Whatever we budget for GSRP expenditures is exactly the same amount we budget for revenue, so.
And there
the dollar for dollar.
could be a point where we have to give that money back to the state if it's not spent.
Yeah,
We're fortunate that we have a new building, we have new things. We don't have the expenses that other buildings have, but we will down the road.
Down the
We have
road.
an HVAC problem
Right.
that we have.
So when we look at just general fund revenue, our foundation allowances, so that includes GSRP?
no, that's tuition based, no, GSRP funds come from the ISD,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So they're not in our general
No.
revenue, in our general budget, okay. All
No,
right.
those are just reimbursed dollar for dollar from the ISD.
Because the ISD is the fiduciary for
Yeah.
our area,
Yeah.
for GSR.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Yeah,
Good questions, though.
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with supplementing the preschool with the Rambler time. I mean, basically was, in my mind anyway, kind of set up as one program.
right,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
One building, one program. That's what I perceived anyway, but.
Yeah. So,
And they're
and I
working,
don't, I think you'll find across the area too, Scott may know this better than me, that they aren't usually moneymakers, and so, so if we can try to, keep it so that we're
And we don't,
balanced.
they don't really carry a full overhead burden, do they? I mean, like, do we allocate administrative expenses to them or anything like that, or?
No.
We do like food, some, or,
Well, some of the meals are reimbursable.
Okay.
Through they are reimbursable for the 3-year-olds and the 4-year-olds through different different funding sources through the.
but we don't
federal,
allocate
but
like
as far as
anything for
GSRP
you or to that program.
No, just with GSRP, we
Yeah,
do,
okay.
we do put
All
some of the utilities and the maintenance, for the maintenance person that is in there. We do charge those to the GSRP program.
Okay.
So,
we do half of Jenny and half of Tanya.
yes, half of Jenny,
Good.
half of Tanya, and the other staff that are,
Thanks.
yeah, you're welcome.
Good question.
And we split, usually supplies and that kind of thing kind of get split 50-50 between the 2, so we try to, we put into GSRP everything that we that we can, so.
Okay, moving on to our principals. Mr. Wizard, you want to start tonight?
Sure. One thing that didn't make it in my board report that we did recently was the previous 3 Fridays, starting February 28th, we did pastries with parents for our parents and students. We served over 700 people, parents and students, and so that was really good to do that with them in accordance with Reading Month, because that's happening right now. And so I had a bunch of books in my office that I had bought for different things, so I put those out and kids get to take a book home to build their library at home, and it was a good time. I want to thank Tammy for putting on a great spread with her team. They did a really good job. Had a lot of compliments about that. Appreciate Mr. Fouch for directing traffic, for Mr. Acom and Kristen Hunninga for helping outside. I know it doesn't make it easy out there in the morning with drop-off, but it went really, really well. And so really glad to have that event again this year. We are in the middle of preparing for next year, so we have kindergarten roundup coming up in April, and so I don't have any numbers on signups just yet because the ads have just gone out. We're just starting to get word out, but we will be doing roundup April 23rd and 24th right now, and so we'll see how many kids are out there, and I know there's quite a few coming from the preschool. I was in a classroom just last week, and I read to Morgan Bradley's class. And she had probably 14 or 15 kids, and she said most of them were ready to come over next year. So I have a good little crop from them. And then April 7th, we start M-Step testing. So it's that time of year again. And we just did some staff training today, and I'm working on a schedule. But we're starting to finish out the year with that and getting ready for next year with Roundup. So we're in that transition period.
Okay, any questions for David? All right, Ms. Becky?
I don't have a whole lot to add. We're also very similar, like starting to think about next year. Megan and I are starting to look at the master schedule. And we're ready to get going on that. We have our numbers and teachers kind of assigned, and now it's just putting the puzzle pieces together. But we're also trying to finish out this year and earn our credits and get our seniors across the stage. So we're trying to balance that. One thing that didn't make it in my update was congratulations to Adam Good and the high school band. They got straight ones at festival, so that's their big quarterfinals. And they had, that poor man, he had festival and then it got canceled. We rescheduled because of the weather. So, first year, and he got to redo it and redo it and redo it on a game. So that was fun for him. But other than that, yeah, testing. Testing is all we can think about. We're preparing.
Any questions for Mrs. Rosenbaum? All right, moving on to our committee reports. I know our policy committee met tonight before the meeting, and I think they're going to meet again afterwards.
Power through, that's our motto.
And you are missing the fun. Tell me. It's a blast.
You guys have any updates for me?
You did have a good comment, Scott, that there are many pages and many different policies, and we're reading and thinking about them and doing our best to catch everything, but don't be surprised if we have to make some modifications in the coming years when we uncover things. So,
Okay.
but it's good. I like it. I'll add. I really like it. It's easier to read. Way less legalese, I guess, than the previous versions.
The true format is really good.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a joy to read, but it's much easier to read.
It is very much easier.
Thank you for putting the time to do that.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
It's good.
All right, moving on to MASB update. Anything going on?
All right, just a few things. I was in Lansing on Friday for the March board meeting. There were new elections in March for the board, and we have 3 new board members, not from this region. We're in Region 2, and our seats will now be open for another year. So in March of 2026, my seat and the my cohort seat from Region 2 will be up for election. The basic meeting was pretty standard, just updated us on some of the strategic objectives for this year. They've done a couple different things. MESB has now assumed a partnership with the Michigan Association of School Business Officials, and they are now doing all their accounting services. So that was a nice blend. They had to add a couple staff people. That was a nice blend, another revenue stream for the association. Interesting enough, we just talked about policy. MESB is now in talks with Troon over their policy services. If they're successful, MESB would basically become their marketer, I guess. Neola would probably play a much smaller role or maybe disappear at some point. But they're in talks with Troon in regard to their policy, and it appeared like talks are going very well. So our switchover was probably pretty timely.
What I'm hearing is we were ahead of the curve.
Oh, really?
That's what I heard.
That sounds a lot better. There was current times with the federal legislation and stuff, we had a pretty interesting discussion on DEI with President Trump's directive on the DEI initiative. It was interesting. Obviously, different perspective as to where we should be. MESB does have a class or a seminar on DEI. It has not been successful. We've had it about a year and a half. Only one school has requested it. So it's not a hot item. And so I think what's going to come out of it is that it's probably going to be put on pause because we know there's going to be a lot of court battles about it. So they probably will put their program on pause, if I had to guess. So that was an interesting discussion. Spring Institute coming up on May 1 to 4. I am registered for that. And I think maybe, Doug, have you?
Yeah, I've got one more person to check with on that weekend.
In the process of it? So that's wonderful. That's May 1 through 4. And then the fall conference, again, I remind you, is in Traverse City this year, so it's nice and close. And that's October 23 to 26. So anybody else interested in that would be a good opportunity because they'll be back in Lansing for 2 years after that. So that's all I got.
All right, thanks, Ken. Moving on to our one discussion item. You wanna talk about it again?
Sure, and then we have letter B on their school climate survey, and that was just an oversight that was on last month's meeting. 31AA, mental health, is this the last month? This is our last month. Would you guys like to talk about it, or just move on? I think we're doing a pretty good job. Okay.
Move on.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, everyone, for bearing through with that.
Moving on to our action items. Action item A, Scott Dunham, Transportation Director, retirement.
So moved.
Supported.
With regret.
Yeah, for sure.
Regrets?
Yeah, feel free to vote it down.
I want big shoes to fill.
Yeah. Any questions, comments for Scott to answer? This Scott. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? B, painting bid from Hilltop Home Services LLC for the middle school gym.
Motion.
Support.
Motion support to get the middle school painted this summer. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? C, painting bid from Hilltop Home Services LLC for the high school gym.
Motion.
Supported.
Motion support to get our high school gym painted this summer. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? D, electrical bid from Hutting Electric for high school gym fans and emergency lighting.
Motion.
Support.
Motion support. do you wanna comment on what we're doing here?
Yeah, so we have 4 fans that are currently not working in the high school gym that we will be replacing. We have 8 fans total in there, so we decided that we would just replace the other 4 fans while they're in there with the lift, because they're the same age as the fans that aren't working. And then the emergency lighting in there, that was not changed when we did the the lighting upgrade to the LEDs. This will take them into, make them flat, flush with the ceiling with the LED lighting. It'll look much nicer in there and light up much better in case of emergency. Again, this is a thing that is, I had it done in 3 separate quotes because I wasn't sure where we were at budget-wise. We're gonna prioritize, but we're okay with going ahead with this. And it's over the $10,000 threshold, so I need board approval on it.
What is the estimated cost on that? Was it in the?
Yeah, it was like, there were 3 different quotes on it. I wanted to say it was like 11,000.
Okay.
It wasn't very much. It was like 3,500 per quote. And it'll save us money than having him bring in this lift again.
But that's not in this amendment?
It is not in that.
Okay, all right.
All right, we have motion support for our fans and emergency lighting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you. That should make graduation much nicer with the fans working as well.
Yes. E, approve Troon policies 1000 through 2000 series with effective date July 1, 2025.
So moved.
Support.
Motion support for the Troon policies. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? F, 24-25 general fund budget proposed budget amendment.
Motion.
Support.
Motion support for our proposed budget amendment. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? G, 24-25 food service budget, proposed budget amendment.
Motion. Support.
Motion support for the food service proposed budget. Any questions on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? H, our bid from Holland Bus Company for cameras for our new buses. This would supply cameras for 4 buses.
Motion.
Support.
We have a motion support for the cameras. Is there any more questions?
So there'll be buses in all, or cameras in all buses?
Yeah. Okay. Yep. And Scott does a nice job of pulling the old ones off and being able to, if something goes bad, I want to replace it, so.
All right, we have motion support for the cameras. Any more questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This time, we have time for public comment once again, but seeing none, I think we can move on to a little board discussion roundtable. Has anybody got anything they want to bring up?
I intended to bring that paperwork for the cell phone policy changes, but I couldn't get it to print without printing a whole bunch of stuff we didn't need with it. So I'll work on that. Anybody else have any thought on that?
I'm reading positive things about it.
Yes, I've heard positive things about it.
Could you update me?
We talked about the Gaylord School at, Otsego School. Went to a no cell phone policy.
So Becky and I have been talking about it, just so you guys are aware too, that we really do not have a cell phone issue. Just something for you guys to be aware of. Middle school, they do put theirs away. Becky, please correct me if I'm misspeaking. They're not allowed out during the school day. High school, you said that you really haven't had anyone in the office with any cell phone
I think 2 weeks ago was the first time I had a student that the teacher said you have to go turn that in to the office. I mean, each teacher has a policy in their classroom, but it's clear in the handbook how I support them. And if they're asked to put it away, that's what's expected. If not, they take it, they follow all the steps. And typically the students abide by it.
That's good.
That was
I'm
part
very
of,
blessed that
right.
you don't have too much
that was
problem.
part of it, but there was, I'd have to read it again, but it seems like there was, like even at lunchtime, they don't have their cell phones.
So middle
They're
school
forced to
is
communicate.
out bell to bell? I mean, all day?
They're
It's-
supposed to be tucked away.
Okay,
Not
but in
out.
their possession?
Right, they can
Right,
see in their
okay, yeah.
backpack or whatever, but
Okay.
not out.
And then out of lunchtime.
And so in high school, you're saying it's basically teacher to teacher policy,
Yeah,
roughly?
because some of the teachers are like, I want it put away, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to see it. Others are, if we have downtime in the last 5 minutes of class, you may have it back out and be on it. You may listen to music. So I allow them that autonomy in their classroom per their classroom management style. And we have not, knock on wood, I feel like I say this and I'm
This is kind of
bombarded.
that policy that we had a few years ago, that it kind of is classroom to classroom.
Yep, and they're fine with that. They know when to have them and when they may not.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but with our Swiss data, which is our new reporting data, the PBIS, we have more violations with these
Yes.
than we do cell phones.
Yes, that is correct.
So,
With their laptops?
yeah.
Yep.
I'd love to see the policy, but just wanted to.
Rumors are that there's legislation from the state coming down. I hope that doesn't happen. I think that's a totally wrong approach.
Keep it
You
local.
know, that's, yeah, keep a local decision, and I don't think that's ever gonna go anywhere in the legislature.
Yeah,
But I wouldn't want it to come to that,
I would agree.
yeah.
Yeah.
We can kind of manage our own operation, I think.
Mhm.
If
We
you
probably
want,
don't see the problems they see in much larger schools.
I'm sure. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure there are social media things. We've just been lucky that they haven't spilled over and impact education in any way. I'm sure there are things that go on. We just aren't having that. I know one of the positive they say is when it's tucked away, kids are interacting more.
That was the biggest focus.
I think the,
Social skills.
my daughter's on the board over at Harrison, they just went to a no phone policy, what's called bell to bell.
Okay.
Opening bell and closing bell. There's not, I don't think anywhere from the seminars it's not tied to academic achievement, but communication, there's a noticeable difference about how kids relate to one another.
I believe that.
It was noticed almost immediately. That's in Harrison. The last session I was at, the Traverse City Schools went to that. There was one other school that presented at that conference, and it was about communication. There was an instant difference in mood and communication and relating and that kind of stuff.
I believe that.
I've noticed it more with younger customers, college age, that come in to get their cards, where their inability to look you in the eye when they talk. That has become,
That'd be worth looking at, a policy. I mean, it's,
that's the only thing
yeah.
academically, I think we're fine. I think it's just what I see in my own.
if you want to send it to me, I can figure out how to print it. So she can send it out to the board, so they can look at
I'm not techie.
it. Is it on their website? Do you-
No, it was a local community member sent it to me.
Oh.
Grandkids go to school there.
Yeah, if you send it, I'll figure it out.
All right.
Or I'll have the tech deck figure it out.
Well, it was just
Take
a
credit
small
for it.
portion,
Yeah.
and that was whole big link that was with it.
All right, anybody else? If not, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
Motion support to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right.
I don't.
And no, you, the rest of you can't sit in on the council meeting, you can't do it.